Books are a really expensive backdrop for ignorance and personality. February 3rd, 2023. The little red dot means I've read a book. A play on words as much as the play on sensibilities of people who read is the general rule. But alongside my love for self-education comes a price tag. That not being able to prove that you did so. My best idea on how to fix that is to simply show how the sausage is made. First, we start with books. Hard copy as the top end of a preference hierarchy, with the Kindle and electronic books and audiobooks at the bottom. This is pure paranoia, but not unfounded paranoia. You can render a Kindle useless and an account suspended via the firmware update. You can't do that to a book in the possession of someone else. You have to deal with the book owner when attempting to remove books from them, and the book owner is 6 foot tall and swings a big stick sometimes. But having books is not enough. You need to have access to them. Bookshelves are next. While there is really no good answer, there are perfectly practical answers to how to shelve books if you want to become a collector. The Billy bookshelf from IKEA is a modular system. It has a full height and half height options, as well as full width and half width options, so it can adequately cover walls of just about every room with a 15-inch margin. This is good because no one ever starts with a massive 500-plus book library when they get into reading, but they often end up there. And with a bit of oversight, you can simply keep adding as needed until you have a room full of books. For some perspective, a single 6-foot-high bookshelf that's 30 inches wide, or about a doorway wide width, is approximately 211 books, give or take anyways. It would take about 4 years of a book a week to fill that, so we're not talking about much when we say get a proper bookshelf because you can't split the cost over multiple years for the above average reading pace. But these bookshelves become a kind of central and nice to look at once you get books on them, and here's where the trouble starts. There's a particular brand of content creator that fakes the prestige and hard work of reading an above average amount of books. One that has a perfectly manicured shelves with books organized by color and size and makes the books and the knowledge they contain a fancy backdrop, not the tool that they are. This is more common for fiction libraries, but happens to nonfiction libraries too, when all sense of organization is lost and the collecting of the books and knowledge contained in them is just as lost. Finding a white Malcolm Gladwell book in a sea of similarly grouped white books is harder than finding a Malcolm Gladwell book in the G section of an alphabetically sorted shelf, but there is still the issue of faking the read. I have over 500 nonfiction books, but I've only read and processed into my commonplace system about 112 of them as of the time of this article. I could easily start posting YouTube videos about my perfect, well-educated thoughts on theology with a giant library of theology books behind me to back up my claims, and a lot of people would fall for it. That's because books are a kind of mental judo. They let you know at a glance that a person is more than what they may appear to be. The same way cauliflowered ear on a guy at a bar lets you know you don't want to pick a fight with him if a fight breaks out. It may have been that a man got his ear hit by an object at work, subsequently crushed, and ended up looking like he hits people for a living, but it's likely that he just hits people for a living. That's what books do. They give the impression of knowledge gained from reading them. And there isn't a trendy and aesthetically pleasing way to do the opposite, to show your work and to show that not only that you have read the book, but you have understood and can communicate what that book says. Enter the red dot. The red dot on all my books is a mark to let people know that it's been read. The easiest way to accomplish and counteract this claim has to be announced to make it work. The second strategy would be to review every book, even simply 30 seconds on every book to let anyone know that you have at least cracked the cover. But a formal review of each book gives the opportunity again to show your work of reading. And finally, there is a simple and easy way to see if the person with the books behind them is well read or just a Book of the Month Club member. Cracked book spines. For most book collectors, paperbacks of any size are 20 to 50% cheaper than a hardcover book. So when you're in a pinch to fill your shelves, you fill it with books that you can acquire cheaply. And paperbacks are cheap. But paperbacks are the only pristine and square when they're unread. The second you spend an hour or two with them in the reading, you crack their spine. And a careful eye can see this evidence of use. It takes effort not to do this to books. Charles Spurgeon famously remarked about this kind of thing when he said that a Bible that's falling apart usually belongs to a life that isn't. Similarly, a bookshelf that is disheveled and filled with well-worn books is likely an indicator that the owner actually reads them. I bring all these things up to let the world know that not only that I've read a bunch of books, but to highlight there are a lot of people you know and likely listen to that have completely unfounded ideas once you start looking at them closely. People who draft book quotes from Goodreads.com quote section and not from their personal collection of insights and notes taken from reading books. These same people will tweet these things as content, add authority to their opinions online, but when a similar action, though much less attractive an option, is used, one of posting pictures of your highlighted and dog-eared pages instead of typing the quote, then a person sees you spent time engaging with the ideas of the book before you chose to use it as content for your audience. Knowledge can be faked these days in ways our former intellectual giants might not have ever fathomed, and a rising and important skill will be not only discernment in what is right and what looks right, but also how to spot those who write what's right and what looks right. To bookend this post, books are a really expensive backdrop for ignorance and personality.